What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the live stream. Everyone that's here now, I see people trickling in. Thank you so much for spending the night with me. Anybody that's watching the stream after the stream, thank you for taking the time out of your day, night, whatever time you're watching this to watch this stream. So, diving right into it, we have quite the carousel of assets and players and all kinds of stuff going on. Now, obviously, the Boston Celtics are the latest report going after Kevin Durant. If that was to happen, I think that you're talking about the first domino that could be potentially falling and could be the catalyst that launches many of these things. And that is very curious in and of itself as far as that goes. Now, hopefully, it is the first domino because the NBA is just at this like complete standstill right now. And I mean, it's still early, right? We still have about a month and some change before we actually hit, the training camp and stuff like that. And teams start, getting together and figuring out their game plans, figuring out what their rotations are, what guys are going to actually make the team, what guys are going to be at the end of the bench, which guys are dropping down, all of that fun stuff. And it would be nice to kind of, have an idea of what the NBA landscape looks like once we actually get into, the next couple weeks, right? Be nice to know, like, is Kevin Durant staying with Brooklyn, or is he going to the Celtics, or is he going to another team? Are the Raptors deciding that what, we will trade Scotty Barnes now? All of that. What's going to happen with Kyrie Irving and the Lakers? Is he going to finally, get his request and end up being traded to Lakers, and now the Lakers know where they're going to go? Are they going to end up trading for a Miles Turner and Buddy Hield? Will they get assets and flip that to the Brooklyn Nets? What's going to happen with the Knicks? Are the Knicks going to get Donovan Mitchell? Or will another team end up getting it? All of these things. I mean, it's just this never-ending carousel, this never-ending cycle as far as like what is going to come in the coming weeks, and hopefully we kind of hopefully we start seeing things take shape. And I really do believe that Kevin Durant's likely going to be the first domino, whether he gets traded or he stays, whatever that result is, and whatever ends up happening with that, I think that that'll be the first domino. Even if we know for certain, okay, Kevin Durant's staying, I think that's when, not even just trades, right, but just the remaining free agents, like, Colin Sexton. Like, what is going on with him? I mean, he's a solid player. He's a guy that legitimately belongs on a team, plays some good defense, is young. He's only like 23 years old. All of that stuff. He's looking for a new contract. The Cleveland Cavaliers, they offered him, I believe it was 3 years, $40 million. And he wants a little more than that. But, it'll be interesting to see how this all shapes up and what ends up happening as we proceed, because we really do. We need that first domino to fall. And be nice to kind of see these other guys. I mean, even like not even guys that aren't as big, like say, Hassan Whiteside, DeMarcus Cousins, Dennis Schroeder, Montrezl Harrell. Like, where are these guys going to go? Where are these guys going to end up? Like I said, it's just we're at this standstill as far as the NBA goes because everyone's waiting what's going to happen with Kevin Durant. Is he going to stay? If he does stay, do they decide to keep Kyrie? Do they still trade Kyrie? Like all of these mixing reports, like every hour, something new. Every, hour, it's like, well, here's another new insight. Here's something else new. All of those things. But, let's jump into the chat a little bit. We're starting to see people trickle in here. I appreciate all of you popping in. What's up, man? Hope you're doing good. Always, no complaints. I'm here talking with all you beautiful people. I get to do these live streams, get to make these videos. What more could I ask for? Being able to just hang out, have some fun, talk some sports. It doesn't get any better than this. What's up as it stands, and everyone in the chat? What is going on, Marcus? Appreciate you being here. I love seeing all the faces. As always, I thank you. James Allen, what is up? Lakers in the house. Absolutely. Always. Even when we're talking about other stuff, there's always room for that Laker talk, right? You can always plug that in here. I did do a live stream over on As It Stands Lakers. For those that don't know, I do have a Laker channel because Lakers are my favorite team, and I don't want this channel to just be about Lakers. Like, we even got some football news. Julio Jones is heading to the Milwaukee Bucks. It's going to be hard to try. I've talked so much about basketball lately. Next month, when we start getting into football stuff, it's going to be it's going to be hard to do that. But I had to edit it out. I even said Milwaukee Bucks in the football video I posted earlier. But the Tampa Bay Buccaneers just recently signed Julio Jones, which I think is a great pickup. And I hope many of you are NFL fans as well. We'll always talk basketball because that's kind of my bread and butter. That's what I'm most knowledgeable about, what I'm most into. But I love me some football, love betting football. Being somebody that lives in Vegas, can't get enough of betting football. But yeah, but there's always room in talks for Lakers, stuff like that. Donovan Mitchell was at the Yankees-Mets game today. Interesting. And Donovan's dad was seen hanging out with Spike Lee. I mean, hey, sometimes, it could be nothing. It could be clues, I mean, we know Donovan Mitchell wants to go to the Knicks. We know the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell. It's just seeing that trade shape up, right? It's like, what will it take? Will it be reasonable? And what domino? I mean, if you're the Utah Jazz, do you wait for Kevin Durant to get traded or not? Because if Kevin Durant gets traded, depending on what that trade looks like, your asking price for Donovan Mitchell may be able to go up, or not just that, even if it doesn't go up, you might have more teams that are willing to jump in the pool now to try to trade for Donovan Mitchell, because like if Donovan Mitchell goes to the Celtics, you might get some teams in the East, or if Kyrie goes to the Lakers, you might get some teams in the West. Or even if he doesn't go to the Lakers, even if he just stays in Brooklyn, you might have some teams in the East and West that go, you know what? Hey, Boston just got Kevin Durant. I think they're better. We need to make a move. Who's still available? Maybe we go make a move for Donovan Mitchell. Maybe a team takes a flyer on Donovan Mitchell and says, hey, let's go all in. So I think if you're the Utah Jazz, you're probably best to just hang tight. Whether they will or not, we'll find out. But so far they've been patient. And like, that's the thing. Like, I just think like, if you're the Jazz, you're better off just biding your time, just being patient, staying good, staying calm, let things unfold, see what happens with Kevin Durant. Because if Kevin Durant does go to a team like the Celtics or something, then, now you can kind of approach other teams and be like, hey, you still think you're better than the Celtics? Like, do you want some Donovan Mitchell in your life? A guy that could score, a guy that could do a lot for your team. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. How was your day, Brody? It was wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate you. No complaints. We got a lot done, got a lot of content up. We did a live stream earlier on As It Stands Lakers. That was awesome. I just officially got monetized today on that channel, so that's a blessing. No complaints. So we were able to do our first monetized stream over there, which is always nice, always good. It's nice to put a little change in your pocket when you're grinding the YouTube grind. Anybody that's doing YouTube and stuff, our goals are always to try to be able to one day do this for a living. So it'd be nice if, between those two channels, maybe we can one day make a decent living. I don't need to be anything crazy. I don't need to make $20 million or anything like that, but just enough to get by and justify the YouTube grind. You feel me? Hey man, I really like your channel. You are constant when it comes to updates and information. I do believe all these deals will happen. It's just a matter of when, not if. Yeah, well, first off, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And I try to be as consistent as possible. Obviously, going through the grind, like I was mentioning earlier with the YouTube thing, YouTube's big on consistency. How often are you pumping it out? And luckily, in the world of sports, there's usually always something to talk about. I mean, sometimes it's repetitive, and I understand. Some people are like, hey, we've heard this 10,000 times, and I do understand it. But it's kind of what you get. You get what you get, type thing. But yeah, I definitely think a lot of these deals will happen. I mean, I still am not completely sold on Kevin Durant being traded this year. But at this point, the Celtics, they might not have a choice. Celtics might have to trade him depending on Jaylen Brown. Now, obviously, there was a report earlier where it was reported that Jaylen Brown doesn't care, like he'll stay with the Celtics as long as they'll have him type thing. But, is that just him playing nice? Is he going to come out and be like, F those guys, I'm not doing this? Like, they could kick sand, I'm out of here. Like, maybe. But, I think it's more so of just like, we'll see what happens when the dust settles, once all is said and done. And he's a free agent in, in what, 2024? So does he resign? Does he do, all that stuff? It's all stuff that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I do think Kyrie definitely gets traded at some point. I think that's a matter of when, not if. And I think Donovan Mitchell too. I think the Knicks will eventually cave or do whatever they have to do in order to get them a Donovan Mitchell. Real quick, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Let's get some more people in the stream. It really does help out the stream, and it helps even after the stream. But yes, please, if you haven't hit that like button, hit that like button. Let's snag some people trickling in, and of course, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate that as well. But besides that, I like your content. Keep it up. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. Absolutely. We'll stay on the grind. We ain't going anywhere. We're here. We're here to stay. We're building. We hit that 4,000 subscribers. That was beautiful. That was a beautiful moment. Thank you all yesterday. But yeah, we ain't going nowhere. Jaylen Brown outplayed Tatum in the finals. Crazy that the Celtics are giving him up. Yes. So, I mean, the problem is, one, they can't trade Jason Tatum. Personally, this is just me, but if I was the Celtics, I would trade Tatum for Kevin Durant before I traded Jaylen Brown for Kevin Durant. Not because I don't think Tatum is better than Jaylen Brown, because I do think Tatum is the better player. I just think Jaylen Brown offers you stuff that Tatum doesn't, and you don't have to worry about Tatum disappearing anymore if you're upgrading to Kevin Durant. And I think that the Brooklyn Nets might be more interested in Tatum than Jaylen Brown, but unfortunately, you can't trade him because of the rookie exception rule, stuff like that. So Tatum can't be included in the deal. Otherwise, I think they would. Because my big concern is if you trade Jaylen Brown and you trade Marcus Smart, who is that vocal leader in the locker room? Like that's a serious question, because you have Kyrie you have Kevin Durant, who's not a vocal leader, and you have Jason Tatum, who is not a vocal leader. Not just that, but I think Tatum and KD are very similar skill set wise, just being that fluid scorer stuff. I think Jaylen Brown is a better defender too than Tatum. Not that Tatum's a slouch or anything, but I just think you'd get more. You'd have that killer in Brown. You'd have that just natural, ridiculous scorer in Kevin Durant. I think he'd be in a better situation. But if you're the Celtics, your hope is like maybe Kevin Durant could draw a little more out of Jason Tatum. Maybe Kevin Durant can kind of pull some of that magic, I guess, for lack of a better word. I could see something like that happening. But yeah, personally, do you know why aren't the Lakers giving the tip free agents left when they still have many spots left? I understand they want to make a trade first, but I mean, who's left that they could realistically get? We're good on centers at this point, especially if you go do the Indiana Pacers trade. But even if you don't do the Pacers trade, you still have AD who can play center. You have Thomas Bryant, Damian Jones, right? So you have essentially 3 centers at any given point that you could play. Beyond that, we could use some more size at the wing, but who's out there? We've got most of like the guys that were out there, other than the guys that were reasonable, like Otto Porter Jr., he wasn't coming here. Gary Payton II, he wasn't coming to Lakers, like stuff like that. We got the guys that we were hoping to get. So credit to them there. But outside of that, who's left? It's you got Colin Sexton, who Colin Sexton isn't going to play for a vet minimum, and that's all the Lakers have to offer is a vet minimum. So, even on a prove it deal, he's not going to take a vet minimum. He could go take a taxpayer somewhere else and get, $10 million a year. And the Cavs are offering him 3 years, $40 million. So you're talking, what, 12 to 15 million a year, roughly. He wants I think he wants 18 million a year. So they might actually be able to work out the deal. Outside of that, it's Jeremy Lamb. He's 6'5". He does have a good wingspan. You have DeMarcus Cousins, Hassan Whiteside. Who else is really there that's that would be worth going after? And take up a spot. Like I would rather, like if we don't do a trade, I would rather give some of our younger guys, like our summer league guys, a chance. Bring in Swider. Let's see what he's got. I mean, he just shot 53% in summer league. I don't think he shoots 53% in the NBA, but can he be a 37 to 38% 3-point shooter? Possibly. Let him get some burn. Jay Huff, bringing Huff in. Like he's 24 years old. Give him a shot. I'd rather see that happen if you're the Lakers than like, get some guy. I mean, maybe Jeremy Lamb, you're hoping could kind of be our I guess prove it deal or our diamond in the rough kind of guy, possibly, or re-sign Melo. Like if all you want are 3-point shooters, give Swider and Melo another shot. Because it's not like Hield is going to play much better defense than Melo. I mean, so if the Lakers don't re-sign Melo, oh, that's funny. We need more wing help. Wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Josh Jackson. Yeah, like Josh Jackson, he's another one that's somebody else that I should have thought of. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind them taking a shot on, like if like the dust settles and we don't make like a significant trade or anything like that. Yeah, like take a flyer on Josh Jackson. It doesn't hurt. Because he's what, 6'8", something like that. 6'7", 6'8". So he's got some size to him. He was a lottery pick, a guy that had a lot of promise. Many people really liked. I liked him at Kansas. Like he was good. So yeah, I mean, and look what happened with Stanley Johnson. I mean, many people were writing him off, and he was great for us. So I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind taking a flyer on Josh Jackson. I do think we need some 3-point shooters. But if you can't, maybe you get Josh Jackson and and maybe you can kind of at least get to league average. If you could get to 35%, like that's all you can really hope for. They don't have a choice. The news will come out short. I'm assuming you mean the Celtics trade for Kevin Durant. I don't really think so either. Like Jaylen Brown, he said the right stuff, but in reality, I mean, you kind of gotta, like, what is he supposed to say? F those guys, like, like, you're kind of stuck. Like you gotta just kind of ride it out, I guess. At this point, they might as well just do it. Thoughts on Barkley possibly going to Live Golf? Really, I didn't even know he was going to Live Golf. I mean, yeah. I mean, sure. Yeah, that's something I wasn't aware of. Katie and Tatum was at the event with Steven Jackson a few hours ago. It's happening. Oh, that's interesting. Huh. Wonder if they talked and it worked out. Well, I know at that event, they asked Tatum, and Tatum said he was happy with his team. But I mean, even that, like, what is he supposed to say? No, Jaylen Brown sucks. Like what is he supposed to do? What is he supposed to say? Like, nah, I want KD. Like, no, you got to. I mean, you got to show face. I do. I think at this point, you kind of, and the Celtics had to have known that, right? Like there's no way the Celtics made that trade offer and included Jaylen Brown and thought, oh, this is going to end well if we don't make this deal. Like, I just don't see that being the case. I really think that like they knew, like, we have to get this done if we put this out there. It was the initial deal, right? Yeah, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first, right? Here you go. They want Marcus Smart, and like 2 firsts, whatever. Okay, well, we'll come in with Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, and a first, and they'll work their way up. I think ultimately the deal will probably land on something like Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, probably throw in the young guy, JD Davidson, I believe is his name, and like 2 firsts. Like, maybe a 3rd first, something like that. And I think that probably gets the deal done. I mean, and if you're the Nets, what better deal is that? Like, what better deal are you going to get than that? Like you're getting a young guy in Jaylen Brown. You're getting not only a young guy, but you're getting a guy that could be your franchise cornerstone going forward. And he's going to go from being the, number 2 or like 1A, 1B type player to like your main guy. So we're going to see how good Jaylen Brown really is. You get a guy in Marcus Smart. You still have Ben Simmons, right? You still have Seth Curry, and you still have like guys like Nick Claxton and stuff, and Joe Harris, and Patty Mills, and I mean, you're still a really good team. Like, you're not a contender, but you might be in a couple years. You got the youth, you got the talent, you got. I mean, I could see it happening. And here's another little gem for you guys: is that, like, in reality, the Nets could technically even leverage and go get Miles Turner. Like, so say the Lakers deal is on the table, right? Say the Indiana Pacers deal with the Lakers. Let's say that really is on the table, right? And the Lakers could trade 2 first rounds and Westbrook for Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. Like the Nets could go, hey, we're gonna we're gonna do this deal with Kevin Durant. You get, like I said, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, say JD Davidson, and a couple firsts. Let's say 3 firsts, right? Boom, deal done. Okay. Well, now you go to the Lakers and you say, hey, we no longer want your first round picks. What we want is you to go do the Indiana Pacers deal, and we want Miles Turner, and we'll give you Kyrie Irving for Miles Turner in 2 seconds, and throw in THT, so salary matches. So you give us THT, Miles Turner, we'll give you Kyrie Irving, and now if you're the Nets, you just turned KD, Kyrie into Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, JD Davidson, and Miles Turner. So now you have a starting 5 of Marcus Smart, Seth Curry, Jaylen Brown, Ben Simmons, and Miles Turner. That's a pretty good starting 5. And you still have THT, Patty Mills, Joe Harris. You got all these guys off the bench. Or you have Seth come off the bench, and if Joe Harris is ready to go, you got Joe Harris. So now you got, you can play Jaylen Brown at the 2, Joe Harris at the 3. You're great defensively. You're great offensively. You're a really good team. I still don't think they're a contender, but you have everything. You have the defense. You got the facilitating. You got the go-to scorer in Jaylen Brown. You got the shooting and Joe Harris, Patty Mills, Seth Curry. You got a little bit of everything. Even Marcus Smart can knock it down. You got the defense. That's a pretty good team. It's not Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, but what better deal are you going to get than that? That's a pretty good deal, if we're being honest. And, and you still have a couple firsts, and you got a young guy in JD, and you got a young guy in THT who, however you feel about THT, he's still only 21 years old. He's younger than most of the people that were drafted this year. So I think however you shake it, that's a pretty good turnaround if you're the Nets, especially for a team that can't tank. But anyway, those are my thoughts. If Lakers get Kyrie with current roster, do you think they are a top 3 contender in the league? LeBron, Kyrie, AD is scary. Personally, yes. Who's better than those 3 with the remainder of the core? And especially if you could keep Kendrick Nunn, I think people are sleeping on Kendrick Nunn. Kendrick Nunn, no joke. That dude, people forget that dude was a 38% 3-point shooter, averaged 20 points a game as a starting point guard on a finals team. He wasn't some bum. He was killing teams. He could be our Kyrie light, and you could start him when Kyrie's out and stuff, because Kyrie's gonna miss some games, whether it's injury or whatever. I just think who's better than them? Especially if they can get Buddy Hield, in the deal, if they could end up finagling a way to get Kyrie and Hield, I definitely think they're a top 3 contender. You can make an argument the Clippers are good, deeper, and just have more overall talent. But how are they going to mesh? Are they going to be healthy? Are the Clippers going to clip themselves like they always do? Okay. The Warriors, the Warriors are scary, but who guards Anthony Davis? Who guards Kyrie Irving? And then on top of that, who guards LeBron James? I don't know. And we saw LeBron, Kyrie, and Kevin Love beat this Warriors team, they have a lot of new young guys, but none of those guys played in the finals last year or this past year. So it's who's really better than us? Milwaukee, I think, is a contender, a legit threat. I'm not worried about Miami. Boston with Kevin Durant, I still think we're better, because okay, let's match big threes. Let's say, you have Kyrie, LeBron, and Davis, and you have Kevin Durant, Tatum, and Robert Williams. So Anthony Davis is night and day better than Robert Williams. So there's a win. LeBron and KD, let's say they wash each other out. Let's say you give a slight edge to KD. Okay. They almost wash each other out. And then Kyrie and Jason Tatum, they wash each other out. If you have a bought in Kyrie, Like, you know, if you have a Kyrie that's just absent, doesn't want to be there, then that's different. But if you got a Kyrie that like has something to prove, like, you know, like who's really better than the Lakers? Now, here's the other thing too, you got to keep in mind though, too, is like I think even if they get Kyrie, I think the Lakers are like the 4th or 5th seed. They're like the 6th seed in the West. And it's not because they're not good. It's because they're a veteran team that's going to care more about health and getting to the playoffs healthy than they are about being the number 1 seed. Now, obviously, if they are healthy and they're dominant and life is good, then yeah, maybe they're the 1 seed. But I still think Anthony Davis, LeBron, and Kyrie miss like 60 games collectively. Like you figure all 3 of them are probably going to miss 20 games. Hopefully it's not all at once, you know, but you figure, you know, LeBron's going to miss a handful of games here and there. Davis is going to miss a handful of games here and there. Kyrie's going to miss a handful of games here and there. So I think that they're going to prioritize health over seeding, because if you have those 3, you don't care what you're seeing. As long as you're not in the play-in, like as long as you're actually in the playoffs, you don't care who you face in any round. Like, and nobody in the West were world beaters. Like, no, but Dallas made it to the Western Finals. Like, you know, and Dallas, I mean, Dallas is solid. I mean, they got Luka. I love Luka. That dude's amazing. But come on, like Dallas isn't like nobody. Like, are the Lakers worried about Dallas if you got Kyrie, LeBron, and AD? Probably not. Like, you know, and nobody, like even the Warriors, like none of them were the Warriors with Kevin Durant. Nobody was that good. Like it's like, like, you know, we need to watch out for them. Like, no. So yeah, I think all will be right in the world. Not gonna lie, I wish Indiana trade happened instead of Kyrie. Golan, I don't I understand the Pacers deal. I do. And in many ways you can make an argument it is better. I just think Kyrie adds a layer to this Lakers team that you don't get with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. Like with Buddy Hield and Miles Turner, you get the depth, you get, you know, a shooter, but like one shooter is one shooter really going to make that much of an impact? I don't know. You know, and you get more size, right? It's essentially a younger bubble team, right? It's a younger, more athletic bubble team. Like that could be very good. Like, yeah, I still think they're one of the better teams with, like, if they do the Indiana deal, I still think they're one of the top teams. Like, I'm still not worried about anybody else. Like, just like Kyrie, I just think Kyrie gives you that undoubted guy. You know, like how many points, like if Anthony Davis and LeBron James are out, like are Miles Turner and Buddy Hield going to be enough to carry the team? Probably not. But Kyrie Irving is. Kyrie Irving's still like, I mean, we saw when Kevin Durant was out and James Harden wasn't playing. Like he was still, he was putting up 30 points and leading the Nets to a win. Like, you know, I just think Kyrie adds more layers to this Lakers team that the Indiana trade doesn't. But it's a great consolation prize. Like if like that's your plan B, like that's a great plan B. Like it's not like you're not going from like an A+ to like a D. You're going from like an A+ to like maybe an A-. Like, you know, but those are my thoughts. But yeah, I'm with you. New subscriber, I respect the grind. Thank you so much, Mr. TYB. I really appreciate it. Really, really do. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And everybody that's not subscribed, if you're watching the stream, please subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to like this video because it really does. It helps get more people into the stream, and it helps even after the stream. So when people watch the stream after. So all your likes, believe it or not, really do help. I'm going to do some Scrabble. I respect the grind. Keep up the good work going. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And have some fun. Have some fun with that. And absolutely, I really do. I appreciate you. Early Rookie of the Year predictions. I think I want to be creative. I mean, the answer is pretty obvious. I don't like, depending on how involved Chet is, Chet can make some noise. I mean, the correct answer is Banchero. I mean, I just think I think he's the most NBA ready. I think he's gonna have the biggest impact on any team he's on. I think he just wins it. But you know, I don't know. Keegan Murray, depending on how much how much of a chance he gets, I could see him maybe making some noise. He was pretty solid. But I mean, for being honest, Banchero is the guy. he's probably winning Rookie of the Year. I think the Celtics are keeping Tatum and hoping for Kevin Durant trade simply because that offensive duo would be amazing. Jaylen Brown is simply just a lot more limited offensively and wouldn't be as efficient as Kevin Durant. They both can score 30, but Kevin Durant's 30 points would be a lot more dangerous than Jaylen Brown's. Also, if Jason Tatum was to disappear, Kevin Durant is a safe. Yeah, so I agree with you. Like I think that's what this essentially is. I think that like the idea is like Jaylen Brown's great, but he's not as gifted as a scorer. Like he has to work for his points. Where Jason Tatum, it's just very natural. Like he can shoot it from anywhere, he can knock it down from anywhere. Jaylen Brown, he's got to actually like work for his points. And I think you have Kevin Durant and you have Jason Tatum. The idea is hopefully Kevin Durant can kind of pool some of Jason Tatum's talents and improve them and elevate them and make him not disappear as much. Because that's the problem is that like there were games like even in the Warriors series, like in those fourth quarters, Jaylen Brown, he's going off, and it's just like if Jason Tatum just gave you like 6 to 10 points, you probably win those games. Like it's just like, but he just completely disappeared. It was just completely ineffective, and he just takes himself out of the games. And I think the hope is like Kevin Durant, like you said, it's a more dangerous 30. He's going to get 30 on like 20 shots rather than Jaylen Brown's going to get you 30 on like 30 shots, that kind of thing. So yeah, I do. Can you make a third YouTube channel? I want you to get that bread. Love the grind. Well, thank you so much. I mean, technically I do have a third YouTube channel. I do have a YouTube channel that has like 7,500 subscribers, something like that. About to be 76. I think I'm one subscriber away from 76. That channel was on for a very long time. It's called Fate Decided. That's more of like movies and stuff. I have like a couple friends and groups that we like do stuff with and things like that. And I've had that channel for like a couple years now, grinding that thing. And I had this channel that like it was like supposed to be like 15 different channels, and then I finally made a sports channel, and then didn't really post on it. And then some people over on that channel, the Fate Decided channel, were like, "Hey, you should make a sports channel," because we were talking about sports randomly. And I was like, I technically have a sports channel. And I made a sports channel, or I started posting to this channel. And one of the videos just blew up. Like I just posted a video randomly, and it got like 136,000 views and got me like 800 subscribers. And I was like, oh no, like, okay. And that was like a month and a half ago. Like if you look at this channel, like a month and a half ago, this channel had like 250 subs. And now I'm at over 4,000. Like it was a crazy turnaround. I mean, it took me like 3 years to get 4,000 subs on YouTube. So like the fact that like I was able to do it in essentially a month here is pretty crazy. So I'm very thankful for all of you. And I do appreciate everyone noticing the grind, all that stuff. And I do have plans to like expand the As It Stands brand at some point. Like, I have the As It Stands Lakers channel. I have friends that are like fans of other sports, stuff like that. But I want to grow the following here first, get big enough, and then, start launching other things, start maybe not me directly, but like, friends of mine be able to do that. As It Stands gets like, a cut for using the name because I'm growing the name, that kind of thing. Brand deals basically with other channels, stuff like that, podcast stuff, turn, people that are like passionate about sports, let them get a channel, throw on the banner, that kind of thing. We'll see. We'll see what evolves. We'll see what develops. I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I am very thankful. I am very blessed. Stuff like that. Being able to be monetized, super chats. Every once in a while, somebody will throw me a super chat. That's very helpful. Like I love it. I'm very thankful for stuff like that. But for the most part, I'm here just trying to grow, trying to have conversations, trying to talk sports, stuff like that. Do you think KD gets traded? If so, where? And same question for Kyrie. So I think Kyrie gets traded either way. I think Kyrie goes to the Lakers. I think that's the only place he's going to end up. I don't think the Nets are going to want to keep him. And not just that, but the Nets can't replace Kyrie Irving. So like if the Nets decide to ride it out for a year and Kyrie leaves them, like they're screwed. Because it's not like if he leaves, they have $36 million to replace him. No, they're still cap strapped because they have Ben Simmons and Kevin Durant on max deals. They have Joe Harris still on like a $19 million contract the following year. Like they have like all of their salary gone. So if Kyrie leaves, like that, and that's why I think Kyrie gets traded at some point because I don't think the Nets can risk Kyrie just walking away. I mean, granted, maybe if you win a championship, maybe he stays, but are you going to win a championship? I mean, you haven't been able to do the only thing you've gotten out of Kyrie and KD is one playoff series win. Just one. That's it. Last year you got swept. So that's my problem. Excuse me. Sorry. Throat's getting a little dry. Probably shouldn't be drinking soda, but anyway, yeah, so like that's my only thing with Kyrie. I think he gets traded out of the way. Personally, Kevin Durant, I still think it's very high and very likely that he stays in Brooklyn. Outside of that, I think at this point it's Boston or bust. Just because the Warriors were the only team that could meet the demand. And they've taken themselves out of the equation. Like the owner, Joe Lacob, he was like, yeah, it's not going to happen. Toronto isn't going to give up Scotty Barnes. And the Suns are basically out of the equation until January. And even then, if DeAndre Ayton doesn't want to go to the Nets, he has veto power over any trade for the remainder of the year. So if he's like, I don't want to go to the Nets if you trade me, I want to go to the Pacers where I signed a deal with, then now what do you do? So I just think, I just think KD, it's either KD goes to the Celtics or he stays with the Nets, personally. So, but great question, Josh. THT and 2 picks for Sexton sign and trade. The problem is they would be hard capped in a sign and trade. So that basically ruins anything. And I'd have to look at how close they are to the hard cap because I don't think they're too far off. So they might not even be able to do a sign and trade, even if they wanted to. And I don't think the 2 picks are worth Sexton. Like I would rather do the Indiana deal than the Sexton deal. Because also you got to remember Sexton is coming off of a serious injury and we don't know what he's going to be. Now he's young. Medicine and stuff is a lot different than what it used to be. So I don't think it's going to be too much of a problem, but I think there's a lot of issues about that. Yeah. I mean, they didn't do a sign and trade with Kyrie Irving. I don't think they're going to do a sign and trade for Sexton, personally. But that's my thought on it. What else we got? Oh, speaking of super chats, James Allen coming in hot with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much for the super chat. Seriously, means a ton, means the world. He is leaving Boston, wants him like the team, and he wants to win a ring. Him and Tatum develop a relationship in the Olympics. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, that's kind of where everyone goes to develop, those relationships and stuff. I mean, we saw it with the Miami 3, right? Yeah, I mean, I do think they want him to. I really do. I think that, like I said, they had to have known what the result was going to be, right? Like, there's no way that they were like, we're going to put in a trade offer and include Jaylen Brown and not have plans of actually going through with it. Because they had to have known that Jaylen Brown wasn't going to be happy with that. They had to have known that this would blow up in their face. So I just think, I don't see them being like, okay, we made the initial offer, we're done now, and just wipe our hands clean and just walk away. I just don't see that being the case. Possibly, but I think at this point, you almost have to. You almost have to make the deal, because Jaylen Brown, he's probably not going to sign an extension with you guys, and he's a free agent 20. Are you willing to just lose Jaylen Brown? And like, when are you going to have the opportunity to turn Jaylen Brown into a Kevin Durant? Even if you do trade Jaylen, like let's say you trade Jaylen Brown next year, right? Like, is Kevin Durant still going to be there? Is he still going to be on the table? Is another team going to come out and, all of a sudden be like, hey, like, does Toronto say like, we suck, we didn't make the playoffs? Here's Scotty Barnes. Like, I'm not saying that that's going to happen, but you never know. I mean, anything, like tomorrow's always a new day. Anything could happen tomorrow, and if you really believe that that Kevin Durant, that you are a Kevin Durant away from winning a championship, wouldn't you make that trade? Wouldn't you do whatever you need to make that happen? So yeah, I do think that I think I think it's highly likely. I really do, and I think they both want to ring. And yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, James Allen. But again, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. It means a ton. I really, really do appreciate it. What else? Where were we? Here we go. The chances of Kyrie going to the Lakers at this point are below 40 and dropping. I don't think it's that. I still put it about 60, 70%. Still think it's very likely. You also got to keep in mind, this Celtics news didn't come from the Celtics. It came from the Nets. So the Nets put that out there for a reason. Whatever that reason is yet to be seen. It could be just simply trying to field more offers and stuff. But you got to feel good about that if you're the Lakers, right? Because you got to think like, okay, that's good. That means they're at least looking into trading KD, right? Like, that they're at least fielding offers. Like the Nets put that out there for a reason. They leaked that information for a reason. And it's probably to try to, field more offers and maybe put some pressure on the Celtics to get the deal done. When do you see the KD and Kyrie trade getting done? If KD even gets traded at all, which, like I said, I do think it's likely, but I think definitely before training camp. I think if either of them are going to get traded, it happens before training camp. I don't think they're going to go into training camp with either of them on the roster. I definitely don't think they're going to go into training camp with Kyrie on the roster. So depends on if they trade KD, but I would say within the next probably like 2 to 3 weeks, I think the trade either gets done, and if it doesn't, then it's probably not going to happen. Have you seen the Kendrick Nunn workout clip? Thoughts? If it's the one that came out like a week or so ago, yes. If there's a newer one, no. But Kendrick Nunn, I mean, look, I am a big supporter of Kendrick Nunn, and I think a lot of people are really sleeping on Kendrick Nunn. I think Kendrick Nunn seriously I think he could be our Kyrie light. I'm not saying he's as good as Kyrie, but I really think he could be the Lakers Kyrie light. Like, he does a lot of the same things. He shot 38% from three. He can play on the ball. He can play off the ball. He can lead your team. He could, come off the bench. I just think you could use him in so many ways. And I think he's going to be hugely effective. Again, he was a 20-point per game, 38% three-point shooter as a starting point guard on the Miami Heat in the NBA Finals. The dude was killing guys. And I mean, it was huge news when the Lakers got him. It wasn't like, oh yeah, that's cool. They got, no, it was like, how did they get Kendrick Nunn for $6 million a year? Like, how did that happen? And so like, I think that he could be a big factor. Like, he could be our third guy. Like, even now, like, even if we don't do the deal, like, even if we don't do the Pacers trade, even if we don't do the Kyrie trade, like, Kendrick Nunn could end up being that missing piece. Like, and I wouldn't be shocked at all. I mean, if he could get back to being a consistent 20-point a game scorer and shoot 37 to 38% from three and all that stuff, like, there's your good guy. There's your third guy. He's still young. He can still play solid defense. It's just, how is he going to come back from injuries? Yeah, I think he looks good. I'm looking forward to it. Man, with this KD thing, the teams are starting the same as last season. Oh my God, all these teams are stuck. I mean, most, if not all of them are. It's just, like I said, I mean, there was only the reason I didn't talk about KD heavily, like, on this channel, like I did with the Kyrie thing, is because, like, there's only so many places KD could go just based on what the Nets want for him. And so it's like most of these teams were stuck. And I did think he was going to the Suns. I really was like, oh, Suns, it makes perfect sense. They have the pieces, they have the assets, they have everything to go get the Kevin Durant trade done. And the Nets just wanted too much, and the Indiana Pacers got sick of waiting around. I mean, it's what happens. So now I think a lot of them are stuck. I mean, I still think, like I said, I still think Kyrie gets traded because I don't think they want Kyrie on the roster to start the season. I just think that could blow up in their face. And if it does blow up in their face, now you're getting nothing for Kyrie. Because if the Nets have to go back to the Lakers and are like, hey, remember how you wanted to do the trade? Well, we're ready now. Like, at that point, they're screwed Because at that point, you're like, well, now you're getting no first round picks. We'll give you, 2 second rounds and THT and whatever, and we'll take Kyrie. Like, because at that point, the Nets have no leverage. Because it's like, now you're getting nothing for Kyrie. You're going to sit him at home. He won't even play for you. Like, now what do you do? Like, the Nets are playing a very dangerous game with Kyrie Irving. Now, if it works out, great for them. If it works out, it works out, right? Maybe they get lucky. Maybe Kyrie shows up to training camp. He's Kyrie Irving. He comes in. Him and KD, they're like, let's do this one last hurrah. They go in. They win the NBA Finals. Kyrie Irving, the Nets change their mind, and they're like, dude, our bad. We messed up. Here's a max extension. Here you go, dude. And life is great, and the Nets are happy again, and they won a championship and all that stuff. Maybe, but I think the alternative, based on what we've seen with the Nets the last few years, I think the alternative is much more likely. Much more likely. So I'm willing to bet, and so far the Lakers seem to be in that way too. Like, it looks like the Lakers are willing to bet that Kyrie implodes your team and you're going to come back begging, and now we win at that point. Or you lose Kyrie for nothing. That's kind of what I think the Lakers are banking on. Like, stay patient. Go ahead, keep Kyrie. Watch what's going to happen. That's kind of how I look at this. And if Kyrie leaves, guess what? You got nothing. And you don't even have the money to replace him. So not only did you, if Kyrie left and they had $36 million or even $30 million or even just max money, if they had let's say $25 million that they could spend if Kyrie left, cool. But they don't. They still have Ben Simmons on a max. They still have Kevin Durant on a max. They, just signed all their new players for multi-year deals, some of which are probably going to opt in. And they still have Joe Harris on $18 million a year. They have no money to spend, so they can't replace Kyrie. So that's a big thing too. Yes, I think that is an absolute home run. If they end up with Kyrie and Buddy Hield, that's a home run. I'm interested in knowing your basketball Mount Rushmore. See, the problem is that's impossible. I just think it is, because I just think you can make so many different ones. Just off the top of my head, if we're just going greatest talents ever, definitely LeBron, Jordan, not in any particular order, just here's these 4: LeBron, Jordan, I'd probably say Magic and Kareem, something like that. As far as just basketball talent wise. But I mean, I think you can make an argument for many. I think you can make around Mount Rushmore for position. I think you can make them it's just, there's so many great players in the history. Yeah, I just think it's tough. But yeah, I'd probably say, those 4: LeBron, Jordan, Magic, and Kareem. Banchero is nice since he's going to start over Jonathan Isaac. Isaac would be a nice piece on the Lakers. I agree 100%. Problem is he hasn't played basketball in 2 years. So is he going to be Jonathan Isaac? Because Jonathan Isaac was nice, especially at Florida State. If I'm not mistaken, that's where he was played at. Yeah, Florida State. He was nice at Florida State too. And I would love Jonathan Isaac. Problem is he hasn't played basketball in 2 years. What's the asking price for him? The Magic have a lot of big men. So I mean, I could see them unloading some of those guys at some point. If the Celtics get KD, do you feel it sets them back at least a year or two, possibly more, because new teammates never gel right away? Tatum and KD may never work. I mean, there's always that fear. There's always that possibility. But Kevin Durant's so skilled, and what he's skilled at, you can essentially plug in anywhere. I mean, look at the Warriors. Warriors had 3 stars, won a championship, all that stuff, and got Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant fit in he was there from the beginning. Because Kevin Durant he's so effective, he doesn't need the ball a ton. He can play off the ball better than probably anybody in the league, next to maybe Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry's, in my opinion, is the most dangerous player in the NBA when he doesn't have the ball in his hands, which is crazy to think about. But outside of that, I mean, Kevin Durant, I think, is right there as far as like a player that you just like. He just fits in so seamlessly. Like he does like he fits in any system, go anywhere because he's just such a great, talented scorer. I mean, there's always the concerns that it doesn't work, but I don't. I think it'll be like KD was there from day one because he doesn't have to fit with 7 players. He has to fit with just Tatum, and that's it. And Tatum isn't an alpha. Tatum isn't that guy that's going to go in there and be like, "Hey, man, this is my team." Like you weren't here, man. I'm here. Like you came here. Like he's not that guy. Like Tatum's the guy that would sit back and let Kevin Durant do whatever he wants to do, and he'll just pick up the scraps. So I don't think it's going to be a problem. I really don't. When will the deadline for the Lakers on this Kyrie pursuit? I mean, at some point, Lakers will have to start looking for other things if keep this way. I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? It's like, when is it time to move on? The thing is that none of the deals are going anywhere. Like nobody's coming and knock on the door for Buddy Hield and Miles Turner. And it's not because they're not talented. It's just Miles Turner. Like who's going to trade for Miles Turner when he could leave you at the end of the year? Like what team is going to give up a first round pick for a guy that may be a 1-year rental? The Lakers would, because the Lakers are desperate. I don't really think they're desperate, but no, I mean, that's kind of the thinking. That's kind of the logic, Buddy Hield, I mean, he's on a $40 million contract for the next 2 years. He doesn't provide anything outside of shooting. How many teams are going to trade a first and stuff for that? Probably no one. So Pacers deal, I don't see going anywhere. Same thing with Kyrie. I think you wait until it's time to go to training camp. So I think you're waiting at least another month. And then once you get there, it's kind of like, all right, where do we go? Where do we go? What do we do? Because I don't think you want to go in. I don't think you want to do the Pacers deal or the Kyrie deal after you've already started training camp because you're already trying to get in the system, Westbrook, all that's like whatever happens, all of that. I think at some point you got to just, I think if, it's like, okay, we're like a week from training camp, call the Nets, see what they're doing. If they're not doing it, we're just gonna go do this Pacers trade, and they can figure it out with Kyrie. So I'd say we're probably about a month away. Miami is out. Do Suns move up? No. So I mean, Miami's out because they just don't have the contract. I was actually gonna make a video about that tomorrow, and I was gonna talk about the Suns too and stuff. Problem is the Suns can't do the trade until January, and even if they can do the trade, DeAndre Ayton has to play ball because DeAndre Ayton can say no. He has veto power in any trade the first year after signing a new contract. So, like they could get like let's say what is I think it's like January 6th or something like that. But let's say it's January 1st, right? January 1st, Suns call up the Nets. Hey, we're ready to go. Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, DeAndre Ayton, 3 first-round picks. Let's make it happen. The Nets are like, that sounds great. Let's do that. Let's make that happen. Let's do it. I love it. And DeAndre Ayton says, I'm not going to the Nets. I want to go to the Pacers where I signed. Remember how I signed a deal with the Pacers and you matched it? If you're going to trade me, I want to go to the Pacers. I don't want to go to the Nets. Then there's nothing they can do. Like, that's it. They have to wait until the following season or, try to work out a deal with the Pacers. But, what happens if they trade Buddy Hield and Miles Turner to the Lakers, then they don't have anything to go and trade for Ayton. So, I think it's not impossible for the Suns to get back in it, but the likelihood is very, very small, very small. If you can't beat them, join them. KD should go to Boston. I mean, this is a different situation. I mean, I know the jokes are going to come in. Of course they are. But, I mean, KD is not signing with them. He's getting traded there. I mean, if the Celtics offer the best package, then, Kevin Durant doesn't have a say. He doesn't have a veto in it. So even if he doesn't want to go to Boston, If Boston says we're trading for you, like, what is he going to do? Say no? Like, I'm going to hate the backlash, Uh, if KD stays, I'm assuming you mean Kyrie Irving stays. I don't know about that. I mean, that's a consensus thought by many, but um, I mean, like I said, they probably trade him, and the owner wants Kyrie gone. Usually, when the owner wants you traded, you get traded. So, why do you think? Why do you think it's taking so long for this Donovan Mitchell Knicks trade? Because if I'm the Jazz, I'm waiting. Hey, let's wait and see what happens with Kevin Durant, especially now that the Boston news came out. Oh man, if you're the Jazz, you're waiting. Like, let's see is Boston really going to give up a bunch of stuff to go get Kevin Durant? Because look at it like this: if you're the Jazz, and let's say Kevin Durant goes for, I don't know, let's say Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Derek White, JD Davis, and 4 first-round picks, right? If you're the Jazz, the offer for Donovan Mitchell just went up. Let's say it was, Grimes, Quickly, and 3 firsts. Well, now it's those 2, RJ Barrett and 4 firsts. Because it's like, Kevin Durant, look what Kevin Durant just went for. He just went for an all-star, defensive player of the year, a young player, a solid contributor, a rotation guy, and 4 first-round picks. Donovan Mitchell's at least worth 2 young guys that are an unknown. Another, mid-tier guy. RJ Barrett's never even been an all-star, and 4 first-round. You know what I mean? Like, the asking price goes up. Not just that, but if you're the Jazz, you're looking at it as, if Kevin Durant goes to the Celtics, how many teams want Donovan Mitchell now? Because how many teams look at that and go, okay, Boston's a lot better now than they were last year, and they were just in the finals. I don't know if we can beat them. So now what happens? I think that's all stuff that if you're the Jazz, you want to be patient. You want to wait it out. You want to see, like, okay, let's wait. Let's see. So that's what I think it is. Hopefully the Knicks get Donovan Mitchell. Yeah, I think that that's the most likely case. I really do. I think that he very likely goes to the Knicks. And look, it could happen tomorrow. I mean, it could happen while we're on this live stream. I mean, who knows? I just think that if you're the Jazz, you're waiting patiently because you want to see what happens with Kevin Durant. Because Kevin Durant could move the needle pretty significantly for you if you're patient. The Knicks and the Jazz are in trade talks, but Leon Rose does not want to give up too much. Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't know why the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell, period, when they just signed Jalen Brunson. When Jalen Brunson is the exact same player, they're both 6 foot. They both don't play defense, and both of their styles of play are very similar. Like, you're talking about what could be one of the worst backcourts ever in Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, because you would have 2 guys that are 6'1" that do the exact same thing. I don't know why the Knicks want Donovan Mitchell, period, but apparently they do. So I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, if I'm being honest, but they seem to want him. What seed are the Knicks with Donovan Mitchell? Probably say like a 5 or 6 seed at the best. I think even with Donovan Mitchell, like I said, I think you have 0 defense. You're just trying to outscore teams at that point. But I still think the Bucks, the Celtics, the Sixers, the Raptors, maybe, the Bulls. I think they're all better than the Knicks with Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson. Yeah, I just think that I don't think they're going to be very good. I think they'll score a lot of points, but I just think they're going to give up as many, if not more. Kyrie needs LeBron to win a title, and KD needs Steph. Yes, I mean, yeah, Kyrie's not a guy that, I mean, and just a skill set and point guards in general. Like the only real point guard that's ever been like the best player on the team and led their team is Isaiah Thomas. I mean, yeah, you could argue Magic Johnson, but Magic Johnson was 6'9" and also had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and James Worthy. And, it's a different scenario. But yeah, that's just what it is, Steph. Yeah, I mean Steph just he won some finals, but he's more of a shooting guard than like a true point guard. I mean, I guess you could argue Kyrie's more of a shooting guard than a true point guard, but yeah, um, yeah. But one last thing I want to say about the Knicks thing, Donovan Mitchell. Like this may be a bold take, but I wouldn't be like, and I mean this, I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks don't make the playoffs if they get Donovan Mitchell. Like I really wouldn't. Like, I mean, I think that they make the play in, and maybe they squeeze in as like the 7th or 8th seed, but I don't think that if they didn't make the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked at all. Like if I just seriously, here, let's do a little experiment real quick. Let's see. Because as of right now, yeah, so I think at the bare minimum, like I said, Heat, Celtics, Bucks, Sixers, and Raptors are than uh all better than them. So there's 5 teams. So at best, they're the 6th seed. I think Atlanta's better than them. I think depending on what the Nets do, the Nets are better than them. So there's 7 teams. I think the Bulls are better than them. So there's 8 teams. The Cavs, you can maybe make an argument the Cavs are better than them. So there's 9 teams that are currently better than the Knicks with Donovan Mitchell. You get, I think the Knicks are probably better than the Hornets, the Wizards, the Pacers. Like the Knicks finished as the 11th seed last year, right? I think that I wouldn't be shocked that they finished as the 10th or 11th seed this year. Because with Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, and RJ Barrett, right? Those out of those guys, who's defending anybody? Like which team are they better than? I don't think they're better than any of those 9 teams that I listed. That's just my thought. Anyway, that was my bold take. Miami is out. Can Phoenix make an offer still? Not until January, and then even then, get a little dicey. If the Nets don't trade KD, does he show up to camp? Yeah, KD will. Kyrie is the one that I think would just say, I'm not doing anything. But he's not that guy. He's not a guy. He's not going to sit out. He's not going to punt a season. He's just not that guy. That's why the deal will get done before training camp. Yeah, I agree. I think it does too. I do too. Different situation. Warriors didn't give up anyone for KD. Yeah, like I said, KD just signed. Celtics would be giving up 2 core players. Yeah, but you're getting Kevin Durant. So I don't think that's a big deal. I want to see Melo go to the Bucks or even Jordan Clarkson to the Warriors or Bulls. I don't want to see Jordan Clarkson go to the Warriors. Not just that, but on a serious note, like where does Jordan Clarkson fit in? I don't even think Jordan Clarkson would play very much if he went to the Warriors because the Warriors are basically all guards, right? I mean, so I would mind Jordan Clarkson on the Bulls. I think would be nice. Melo on the Bucks. I mean, that could be solid. Melo doesn't really fit the Bucks schemes very well, but never know. Referring to the Celtics and the Nets. Yeah, definitely. Jonathan Isaac was a defensive player of the year candidate 2 seasons ago. When he was healthy, he was Herb Jones on steroids. No, I agree. I love Jonathan Isaac. I absolutely love Jonathan Isaac. It's just it's been 2 years. Like a lot could happen in 2 years. But I mean, if he could come back and be healthy and be solid, sign me up. Sign me up for some Jonathan Isaac. LeBron is due to sign a $97 million contract. He's a billionaire, so he doesn't need the money. He should sign for half that to help cap space and bring in some good free agents over. I mean, problem is one, who are we bringing over? If we don't trade for Kyrie, I definitely don't think he signs that extension. I don't think LeBron's going anywhere, but I think he could. I wouldn't be shocked if LeBron takes a pay cut. Like, I mean, he's not going to go from 97 million to 30 million. And it has nothing to do with being a billionaire. It's legacy. Like when you're a certain level of status, you can't take pay cuts. It's why it's never happened before. I mean, like you could take minimal pay cuts. Like James Harden took a pay cut. LeBron took a pay cut to make the big three happen, stuff like that. But you're not talking like, a $60 million pay cut. Like he's not gonna take half of that. Like, but like he might take like 80 million over 2 years, something like that. I think it depends on like what's on the table. LeBron's not stupid. He knows he's getting up in his twilight. He knows his career's coming to an end, and he's going to want to, once he passes Kareem, all that's left is just trying to stack up as many championships as possible. So I think if we get, like, let's say we do the Pacers trade, right? And let's say we can't get Kyrie, right? And we do the Pacers trade. Okay. You would have Miles Turner and Buddy Hield. You'd have LeBron, Anthony Davis, right? All of that, the end of the season, you're left with Buddy Hield and Anthony Davis, right? You need to re-sign Miles Turner, need to re-sign LeBron James. Let's say Kyrie Irving comes along and is like, hey, remember I told you I wanted to sign? I'm still here, let's sign. So at that point, even if they let Miles Turner go, you technically, if you re-sign LeBron to $97 million, you cannot sign Kyrie Irving. I could see LeBron saying, I will like give him, let's say Kyrie's max is, $30 million or whatever. Like I could see LeBron making it work to where you could sign Kyrie too, or re-signing Miles Turner and Kyrie, something like that. Like, I just think it just depends on like what's on the table at that time. That's what I think it comes down to. Kevin Durant, Celtics. Kyrie, Seth, Lakers. Donovan Mitchell, Cavaliers. That's an interesting thought. Cleveland Cavaliers. Who does Cleveland give up though? I mean, that's not a terrible idea. I actually have a list of like trade thoughts, and I have Cavaliers on the list for Donovan Mitchell. I actually haven't like dug through it to see like what would actually work, because it's just like when Donovan Mitchell got announced to be being traded, I was like, what are all the teams that I think Donovan Mitchell would trade for Donovan Mitchell and Donovan Mitchell would fit into? And Cavs were like on that list. I don't remember where, but like it wasn't necessarily in order. It was just like the teams that came to mind. But like I said, I haven't really explored like what would they be willing to give up to get Donovan Mitchell and still remain competitive. That's the thing too. Jordan Clarkson in Philly, I think would be nice. I think that'd be really nice. I mean, Jordan Clarkson, he's embraced that 6-man role. I think you could essentially plug him in anywhere and it'd be good. Boston versus Lakers in the finals of KD gets traded, Kyrie to the Lakers. I know I have been preaching this. I would love for this to happen. I mean, seriously, just the story, like both teams going to war. Winner gets number 18. You have the tiebreaker. You have Kyrie facing his old team. You have Kyrie facing his old buddy. The Lakers history. LeBron taking on Boston again, like the good old heydays where Boston used to just like run all over LeBron and stuff. I mean, you can't write a better story. I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on that if that happens. Why did the Knicks spend so much money on Brunson when they should have used the same energy on Mitchell? Because Mitchell wasn't available at that time. Mitchell became available after the whole Brunson thing. And now the Knicks want to still go after Mitchell. Like they wanted Mitchell, and then Mitchell wasn't on the table, and then they traded Rudy Gobert, and then the Knicks were like, oh, hey, Donovan Mitchell, what do you want to do with Donovan Mitchell? And then the Jazz were like, we're not going to trade Donovan Mitchell because Donovan Mitchell isn't requesting a trade, and he isn't like trying to force his way out. So we're going to try to stick it out with him and stick with him. And Jalen Brunson is like, hey, I'll sign with the Knicks. And he signed with the Knicks. And then, a week later, guess who's available? Donovan Mitchell. So it just, unfortunately for them, it fell the way that it fell. I respect Dame's loyalty for staying with Portland. Of course, the money helps too. But do you think he made a mistake for staying because Portland will never win? I absolutely do. But, not everybody wants to win. Not everybody's in the NBA to win a championship. As you would think that that's the ultimate goal. But, not everybody's like that. And not everybody's, oh, let me stick around. Not everybody's like, let me go to this team and win a championship. I would love to see it. I love Dame. I would love to see Dame go to the Lakers or the Sixers or something like that and go win a championship. Put him with a couple guys that he fits into, and then him and the two other guys could go win a championship. Like, I would love to see something like that happen. But in reality, like, Dame, like, I respect his loyalty. Like you said, the money, everything you said, I'm with you 100%. For him, I don't think he looks at it as a mistake, but from like, his legacy standpoint, it is, because he's always going to be that player that was what if, and unfortunately, very likely, in like 20 years from now, you'll never hear about Damian Lillard. It'll just be in conversations where it's like, oh yeah, remember that guy Damian Lillard? Like, he was pretty good. Like, that's what'll end up happening. That's what happens with a lot of these guys that are really good, but never win anything and never make an attempt to win anything. And therefore, as much as people like to shit on LeBron and guys for leaving, Damian Lillard is a great example of like what loyalty gets you. Same thing with Bradley Beal. As much as people like to clown on him, it's not what it used to be. Like, even Jordan, like, Jordan was lucky that he was on a team like the Bulls where they were willing to do whatever it took to win. Not a lot of teams, like if he ended up with the Clippers back in the day, or even the Cavs were pretty good back then. But like if he ended up with like, the Hornets or like, the Clippers or something like that back then, when they were winning 12 games a season, like, would Jordan be Jordan? Probably not. Would Jordan have stayed? Probably not. He probably would have left. He just got in the right situation. He just landed with the Chicago Bulls team that wanted to win and went and got, and were lucky enough to get Scottie Pippen, and then ended up, getting Dennis Rodman and, and Horace Grant and all these guys, Steve Kerr, Tony Kukoc. Like, they were a team that were willing to go all in and get all these like Hall of Fame superstar guys. Not every organization is willing to do that. And that's the problem. And it also depends on where you're at. How many people are lining up to go to Portland? Not very many. So it's another thing too. How would a Miles Turner at the 5, Bryant at the 4, and 80 at the 3 look? That's how the size. I don't think it could happen. I mean, AD's good, but he's not like I could play the 3 good. That lineup would probably never hit the floor. But I mean, it would be kind of cool to see. I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I wouldn't mind it at all. And all 3 could shoot, or even better, have LeBron at the point, have, Turner at the 5, Bryant at the 4, 80 at the 3. And then, I don't know, like Stanley Johnson at the 2, something like that. Add some real size. I mean, it would probably look goofy, but yeah. Yeah, Dame going to be in the conversation with Ewing, Karl Malone, Reggie Miller. Yeah, he is easy. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he's not even in that conversation, as messed up as it sounds. Like, and I love Dame. But he doesn't even really get talked about now. Like, what's he going to be in 20 years? I don't know. Like, and I love Damian Lillard, and I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but I just see Damian Lillard being an afterthought. I just see Damian Lillard, because he never accomplished anything. As great as he was, he never accomplished anything. He was also never like, he's never a top 5 guy in the league. He was never, I mean, you can make an argument he was never even a top 10 guy in the league. So I just, I love Damian Lillard, but in reality, like, what has he done that's worth talking about? And I know that might sound cold, that might sound messed up, but I mean, it's a reality, like, unfortunately, he's a guy that never, like, he's not a guy that's going to be in this. I think he makes the Hall of Fame, but like, to be fair, what has he done that's Hall of Fame worthy? I mean, seriously, like, I mean, I think he's in the Hall of Fame just because nowadays, like, anybody gets in the Hall of Fame. Like, as long as you're in the NBA, you're basically in the Hall of Fame. But like what has Damian Lillard done that's Hall of Fame worthy? I hate to say it, but it's true. Like, I love Damian Lillard, but he's just, unfortunately, he chose the money and the loyalty over everything, But NBA Finals matchups: Clippers versus Bucks, Phillies versus Warriors, or Miami versus Lakers. Right now, if you're talking right now, the way the NBA is, I would take the Clippers and the Bucks. I still think the Bucks are the best team in the East. Philly, depending on what James Harden shows up, Philly could be a real threat. Depending on what James Harden shows up. But right now, I would say everybody's healthy, no injuries, get into the playoffs. Everything goes the way it's supposed to. Clippers and Bucks. I think Clippers are the best team in the league, as much as it pains me to say, at least on paper. On paper, the Clippers are the best team in the league. Problem is, are the Clippers going to clip themselves like they always do? And can Kawhi Leonard and Paul George stay healthy? Because they haven't been very good at doing that. So that's something else too. But last thing, you right, LOL. Well, thank you. Yeah, I just look at it and I think about it and I'm just like, oh man, like I hate. Yeah, as much as it pains me, I hate saying it, but great people chat, Nightman. Well, thank you, free man, absolutely. And yeah, I'm gonna skate out of here too. I got to the end of the chat. I thank you all so very much for hanging out with me. Seriously, thank you for the super chats. Those that gave super chats earlier, it really does help me out a lot, and it does help the channel, and will help me start growing this channel. I definitely want to do that. So thank you so very much for super chats. Thank you all so very much for being here, hanging out, talking sports with me, all of that jazz. We'll do this again tomorrow. If you haven't liked this video, please hit that like button. It really does help after this stream. Get that going. Also, if you're a Laker fan and you're not subscribed, subscribe to my Lakers channel, As It Stands Lakers. Just got that monetized today, which was a blessing as well. Link is in the description of this live stream. So click that link, head on over there, subscribe over there. And of course, if you're not subscribed here, subscribe here. I really appreciate you subscribing to both of those channels. Other than that, I thank you all very much. I appreciate you all hanging out with me, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you.